that's kind of the key is it to be a good negotiator, you have to remain calm, cool, and collected, and realize what the ultimate goal is.
Hello and welcome again. This is Robert Schein, founder of The Few and a financial advisor. And thank you for joining us for episode number 4, The Art of Negotiation. And I'm here with my co-host here, Madison Evans. Madison's a financial advisor and a Dynamo co-host. So welcome.
Thank you, Rob.
We're doing multiple episodes now, and I think we're gaining a lot more traction.
Yes.
Even more than the last time. So it's more than just your mother and my mother tuning in.
True.
Which is good. Today we're going to talk about one of my 7 keys of financial wellness. One specifically is negotiation. So the art of negotiation. So what's kind of cool about this is, when I was thinking about my 7 keys of financial wellness is, realizing that, again, we're all the same, right? We wake up the same. When you wake up, I wake up. I don't know about you, but I negotiate with my alarm clock.
Oh, every morning.
And as my wife would attest to, she could probably just, smack me over the head several times because it's not just one and done and I'm up. It's several. So, and I always get up super early. So I'm up way earlier than she is. So bless her heart, she has to deal with all of that.
That's funny.
But again, that's how your day starts, right?
Right.
And so in the average person has 8 to 10 financial decisions. Forget about just, the easy parts, waking up potentially, right? The average person has 8 to 10 financial decisions they have to make on a daily basis. And what's funny is that in school, we're not taught about the art of negotiation unless you go to college and you specialize that. Or if you pick up a book, be open to growth and change your mindset and, or Audible or Barnes and Noble. And then you happen to, get some of the best books that are out there. One of the things before we go too far is I'd like to recommend to the audience is Chris Voss. Chris Voss was a FBI negotiator for many years. In fact, the most successful. And he has a book that's very famous, New York Times bestseller, called Never Split the Difference. And he takes his life experiences and he pours it into his book, which is very riveting. You could only imagine the negotiating, the stuff that you and I have to do on a daily basis pales in comparison, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
Hostage negotiation, life and death, bank robbery situations. So not only is it a great read, but he teaches us a lot about how to negotiate. And then there's a lot of multitude and facets about negotiation. We can discuss that. We can get sort of deeper in that. One of the elements we'll discuss later in this episode is about family. And we'll have some good stories to share a little bit later on that. But, again, for the few financially empowered women, I have 3 daughters. They're college age. They're going to be soon in the workforce.
Right.
One of the things we're going to do as a father is we're going to sit down and we're going to do sort of the, mock trial dress rehearsal of what your first interview is going to be like.
Right.
Okay. And the reason why we're going to do this is not only to have them prepared for what they're potentially going to go into, but also their salary, right? So women right now make 82 cents on the dollar for every man for the same job, right? So how do we close that wage gap? One of the ways is, hey, listen, the job that I'm applying for and prepared to do, there should not be a financial difference, right? Of course, she can't call them out on that, but there's ways, tools, tips of like how you prepare yourself, how you do your research, what you're willing to accept, what you think you're worth, what you're willing to say, okay, I'll negotiate this because it is an opportunity and that employer is taking a chance on me. But all of that comes into your first, let's say, base salary right out of college. When my daughter goes into that negotiation for her first salary, her first job, and then it gets onto salary. Why is it so important for her to be armed with what she's worth, what the value is, and the art of negotiation as it relates to that? Why do you think that would be?
Well, it is very important. And I went through this just a year ago because I graduated from college May of 2023. And it's important because you need to be on the same page with who you're negotiating with. You don't want to say a number that's unrealistic, or you don't want to devalue yourself. So I think that it's really important to do research to know what people just out of college are getting paid, like what's the norm in the job that you're looking for. But I would be interested to know, because I kind of had to do research on my own. I didn't have a lot of people around me to ask these questions to, but what are some of the things that you plan on telling your daughters?
Yeah, one of them, we have a good family friend of ours that is a recruiter. Okay.
Okay.
And so she sources employment.
Mhm.
Okay. So again, another keys to financial, one of my keys to financial wellness is your network,
Mhm.
right? Your network of friends and family. So even in the world of business. So what I would do as a father, what I'm going to do is have them have a phone call with this business expert that does nothing but negotiate all day long. One, run them through a mock interview. Two, the art of negotiation. So while I still can do it, I also want to bring in an expert out of town that I know and trust that's within my network for my daughters to look up to, right? She's also a woman that has the ability to then know what it's like to be a woman walking in, negotiating for what your value is, right? I
Right.
kind of want to level the playing field because there's only so much I can give, but there is somebody I can open the door for that opportunity for my girls to have that conversation with.
Mhm.
Number two, why it's so important to know what you're worth and know what's willing, sort of the fair market value of what's fair on both sides, right? Because you don't want to walk into a situation and over ask and underperform, right?
Right.
That's not a good look either.
Yeah,
But
you don't want to be
so you want to be fair.
unrealistic.
You want to be, okay, listen, if I take a discount, I'm going to prove it, but I can make it up, so on and so forth. So another thing would be very specifically is like, okay, when you get out of college, whatever you set yourself at in terms of your salary, oftentimes your next job will be a percentage of that base salary.
Mhm.
So if you don't negotiate that extra 5,000, 10,000 early on,
Mhm.
the compounding effect over your career, think about that, could be a lot of money left on the table. So it makes sense to take some time to learn about a subject you may not want to learn about. But yeah, I mean, you can change your daily digital, type into TikTok or Reels, art of negotiation, negotiating for a job. If you take 5-10 minutes, that can make you an extra $5,000 to $10,000, and it's worth the ask. So
Mhm.
why wouldn't you? So that's why art of negotiation is also very important, especially for anybody going in the workforce or even going, changing jobs or from that perspective. So there's a lot of negotiating that we're all doing with each other on a daily basis, financially speaking. And that's one that I think is critical that, girls need to, and women need to pay attention to close that wage gap.
Mhm.
Another component is what I told my daughters, and they're not so keen on this, but the world of math, it's a level set. Okay. So in the sciences, in the finance, there's literally a level set if girls or women, choose to basically go down the path of math.
Mhm.
Because oftentimes, especially in corporate America, it's blind with regards to pay. So from engineering to medical to financial, those are paths where immediately you're closing that wage gap as soon as you get your degree.
For people who don't necessarily have the resources like you as a dad for your daughters, or their parents don't have a network of people like you do to reach out to, what would you say to those people? How do they find resources to learn about negotiating?
Yeah, everyone has resources, right? Just
Right.
you're just not seeing it through a broader lens. Okay.
Mhm.
So as an example, I needed some advice on my future career. Okay.
Mhm.
And I'm in college, finance and marketing major, business major. And I was doing very well. Back end of my career in college and out of high school, I started excelling.
Mhm.
A's, B's, top of the class, because I really started finding my sweet spot of what I love. So I had a marketing teacher that I just adored. One of the greatest, worked in corporate America, now retired, giving back, teaching. And I went out on a limb and I asked him to go to lunch with me. Okay. So I met him for lunch. I paid for lunch and I asked him, listen, I've got some business sort of decisions to make for my career.
Right.
I've got A or B, what would you do? And he gave me, he's a third party. He's not part of my decision sort of matrix. And I really trusted what he would say because it's just, he has nothing to gain one way or another. It's just honest advice.
Mhm.
So you do have that mentor, you do have that teacher, you do have that network of guidance counselor. And if they don't know, they know somebody who does. Like, let me give you an example. Most, if not all, guidance counselors, whether it's high school or college, are connected to the business world,
Mhm.
right? So that's a resource to you that you could go and call right away and say, let's make it a face-to-face appointment. Here's what I'm trying to achieve. So it's 2 degrees of separation, especially in business, right? Or let's say you work LinkedIn. In college, you should set up your LinkedIn profile. You should be getting sort of your experiences under your belt, your interns under your belt. You should be linking in, liking everybody or friending everybody. Like it's like the first day for anybody on Facebook, right?
I completely agree.
And then you can then see who Rob knows, and you can see who Madison knows, and you can see, and it's a friend of a friend, right? Doors are open because of a network of people who know, right? Again, that's one of the reasons why you're here. A friend of a friend said, hey, listen, can you take a phone call? And I said, absolutely, for that person. Absolutely. And that's how the world works, but let it work for you. So there's resources and networks, and just think outside, right? Think outside of where you are today, where you want to be tomorrow, and start brainstorming and having fun with it. It's not a hard problem. It's kind of a fun problem. But don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to start. That's the key.
We were talking about negotiating with family earlier, and Jennica, your wife, is in the office today. I think it would be fun to have her on, and she works in real estate. She negotiates all the time.
She's a master negotiator.
Yeah, I think
I don't think
it would be
there's
fun to
anything
have
she doesn't
her
get
on.
that she doesn't want, at least at home for sure. So yeah, let's bring her in. So Madison, thank you. And today we're going to segue to our special guest, Jennica Schein, who has her own real estate business, real estate agent, and also my lovely bride. So let's get right to that next section of the interview.
Thank you everyone for watching. This episode is sponsored by Blanky Schein Wealth Management. We've been in the Coachella Valley for 40 years and we're built for the next 40 years. You can find us at blankyshinewealthmanagement.com. And now back to the episode.
Well, welcome back. And we are here in studio with the great Jennica Schein. Jennica, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So what brings you in today?
Well, I wanted to negotiate a deal with you.
Exactly. And that's where it all falls apart.
No, it actually can work out in your best interest as long as it aligns with mine.
Exactly. Well, see, so that's why I wanted to bring in. So one of the 7 keys is the art of negotiation. It's multifaceted, right? We negotiate when we wake up in the morning with our alarm clock to wanting to go to the gym or not, whether it's financial, all the financial decisions we have to make. And you know, obviously in your industry, in your business, there's a lot of real estate, right? Negotiation, that's all you're doing. So that's why you are a subject matter expert. But another reason why you're a subject matter expert, in addition to negotiating with your spouse, is negotiating with family. So we have 4 beautiful children. We have 3 college-age girls and 1 high school-aged son. And we always laugh because, you know, the most dangerous negotiation that you could enter into is one that you don't even know you're in. And that oftentimes starts at home, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I remember vividly when we were driving with Taylor, our oldest, but she was 2 or 3 years old, in the back of the car. And you and I are, you know, I'm driving and we're in the car and Taylor's in her car seat. And I don't know, I'm asking Taylor about a lunch or whatever it is. And I said, Taylor, how about, and I gave her an A or B decision, A or B. And Taylor at 3 years old says, I don't like those. What else is there?
Most people wouldn't know to say that.
And I remember looking at you thinking, you know, human nature is like A or B, and human nature, people will just pick what's in front of them.
No, that's not what you said. You said, that's it. She's smarter than me. I'm out.
And that's, the next thing, well, that's what I was thinking. It was like, hey, you know, human nature is like, you know, you give a person, somebody on the street, A or B, they're going to choose between the choices in front of them. But this 3-year-old that now we are negotiating with, or she's negotiating with us, and we didn't even know we were in that negotiation, is now saying, what else is there? And that's when I turned to you and I said, yeah, I'm out. She's over my pay grade.
Well, that's the thing with kids, is their whole purpose, I think, on the earth is to challenge the authority figure. That's how they grow. That's how they learn. I think as the authority figure, our job as parents is to let them have trial and error. They need to explore what their options are, make decisions, and then realize they have a safe space to come back to when that decision may or may not have failed them. I remember, you know, many times, in fact, it was more recently with our son, who was just started high school, didn't want to do any of his schoolwork, didn't want to do the homework. You know, it was annoying. So we had that same challenge with our oldest. She had dyslexia. So that was another whole reason why she didn't want to do it, understandably so. The three of us were in the car, and I kept trying to convince Jack that he needed to do the work and all the reasons why and how many things he's going to benefit from by doing it ahead of time and not having to catch up and things like that. And he was just arguing with me. And I said to him, which I had said to Taylor a number of times, is, hey, you know what? We've been trying it your way, all year so far. How's that working? And, instantly he knew, because it wasn't working. It was causing fighting. It was causing chaos. It was causing drama and turmoil for him, every single day of his life. And I said, we've tried it your way. Why don't we just for the kick of it, why don't we try it my way? And then we'll see which one works. And that's when Taylor turned around to him and said, dude, look, just do what mom says. Trust me, I've been through this. She's right. Just do it her way. So
you should have had that permanently recorded.
I know. I said, wow, she said I'm right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But that's kind of the key is that to be a good negotiator, you have to remain calm, cool, and collected. Realize what the ultimate goal is. Let people kind of figure things out for themselves, but lead them in the direction of what's going to make them most successful.
Very good. I always say with our teenagers, you got to be vigilant all the time. And one of my also lines is, we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Oh, yes.
The teenagers are terrorists. They already know, like, hey, Dad, what are you doing Saturday night? I'm like, I don't know. It's like middle of the week. Well, they already know what their plans are, and we're the chauffeurs.
Yeah.
And so there goes my Saturday night.
Well, keeping a good relationship with the kids has also provided us the opportunity to be engaged with them and to have insight to things that, maybe without a good relationship with your children, some parents may not have. I remember Brooke coming out at one point and we had to confront her about a situation. And she looked at us and said, how do you guys just always know? And I said,
we always know.
We always know.
Because we were kids
don't.
once the time before that, even though they don't think we're older than dirt, right?
Well, sometimes we don't know, but we at least give the illusion that we do know, or we know that there's something up.
Well, that's part of the art of negotiation, the ability to bluff.
Yeah, we're pretty good at that.
So it takes some time. So let's go through. Negotiation is in everything in life. We had a medical situation with one of our daughters, and we had a lot of surgeries and a lot of procedures, and just mountains of medical bills, like $70,000. Mm-hmm. And what we quickly learned was how to negotiate with healthcare providers, billers, medical industry.
Try not to if you don't have to.
Try not to. Yeah. So you never want to be in that position. But, I just read this just the other day in the Wall Street Journal that 82% of doctors' billings are incorrect.
Yeah, they are.
And what they do is they double bill. Now, all doctors are wonderful and we love our doctors. But what the consumer needs to know is how this game is played, right? And so the doctor will bill your insurance company, but they'll also send a bill to you. Mm-hmm. And whoever gets paid first, from all the doctor cares about is getting paid for their fee, their service, and what they provided. We, the consumer, will get a bill and it's like, wait a minute, I thought I had health insurance. And then we play the merry-go-round game as a consumer of like calling the health insurance company, calling the doctor's office. Right. And then guess who's in the middle? Guess who's in the middle? The person who has,
who's sick.
Who's sick. Yeah. And so, but we learned a lesson of like, wait a minute, you did. I mean, you handled all of this. That's why you're a master negotiator, because you got the insurance company on the phone and you got the doctor on the phone, office, and said, okay, and you made them match their books.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize, is that you can do that. And once they match the books, they're like, oh, the insurance company gave them a check for this and they wanted a check from us for that. Well, that would be a double payment. Mm-hmm. And do you think we get a refund?
Well, there's a different price that the insurance company bills the doctor versus billing you.
Different price for billing. Mm-hmm. There's a different price for cash. Yep. You can negotiate a cash. So what I'm saying is that you and I got on the job training through a personal experience.
Right.
Which was very unfortunate, but we now feel armed with that education from a consumer standpoint of like, we have the confidence to know, listen, We can share our story with somebody else to help give them confidence to know, pick up the phone, don't be afraid, start making the calls, and start negotiating on your behalf. Become your own advocate. You have to be your own financial advocate. You have to be your own medical advocate. You could also then start digging into the art of negotiation. And you don't have to have the answers. In fact, what you do is just say, I just received this. Help me understand this. And I mean, you do this all the time, and you just shut up and listen.
Well, sometimes that's the best way, is to jump all the way in. There's only so many circumstantial situations you can put yourself in, hypothetical. We're doing that right now in the real estate world with what the National Association of Realtors, their legal ruling that's just changed the way that we do business. So in our offices, many real estate agents, they like to come in and they like to say, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And, honestly, I love my broker. Tom says, I'm tired of talking about the what ifs. Go out and do the business. We'll figure it out. We'll jump in the pool and let's figure it out. And honestly, that's the best way to learn, is hands-on, right in the moment.
Why don't you tell us, while we're 30 seconds on this, maybe 2 minutes, what's going on in the National Association of Realtors?
It's really simple when you break it down, but people are trying to make it very complicated. And ultimately what it comes down to, it's how real estate agents are paid their commissions. In the years past, it's been a negotiation with a listing agent and the person selling their home about what it's going to cost commission-wise to sell the home. They would negotiate that percentage, and then at that point, it would be a separate deal or separate contract, that the listing agent would make with the buyer's agent to bring a buyer and represent them in a fiduciary responsibility in the contract negotiations and everything after that. Now they don't like that, because they felt that sellers were getting locked into having to pay a buyer's agent to represent somebody on the other side of a transaction. So rather than do that, what they've had now put in place is a buyer has to write up a separate contract with a buyer's agent to represent them. I like to think of it kind of like attorneys in the law. So once they sign that contract to represent them, they charge a certain fee. That buyer's agent, once they find a home that their buyers are willing to purchase, they now have to contractually negotiate back in their commission to get the seller to have consideration for that for the buyer. So ultimately, it's just a different way of skinning the cat. It's all the same business. Everything is always negotiable, but it's just a new way of doing business. And a lot of people like to get really stressed out about it and think about, how they're going to be liable and whatnot. But honestly, it's pretty simple, especially the way that my company's done it. We've really simplified the contracts. We've got it really dialed in, and it's just the same way of doing business, just actually not the same way of doing business. It's a different way of doing the same business we've been doing before.
So in all the effort of transparency, I guess that was sort of the spirit of it, in disclosure, but it's always been disclosed, and it's always been
negotiable.
Fiduciary, it's always been transparent. Well, yeah. So that's been a big change in at least the real estate world across the United States. You're on it. And man, if there's anybody I want to negotiate on my behalf, that would be you.
Thank you.
Because not only do you have a super grasp of this issue, but you always take great care from a fiduciary standpoint of your clients.
Well, the only way to do that is to, like you said, jump in. Once you've had those experiences, you just keep racking up different ways and of creating more knowledge and more kind of in your backpack of things you can bring to the table the next time something comes in. You always say, every time I come home with another situation, you say, wow, I thought the last one was tough, but this is a whole new ball of wax.
Yeah. It's always like an episode of Suits at our house. It never ends.
No.
One thing is always going.
Can you believe this is happening right now?
Yeah. But again, it's just having a positive perspective on life and a mindset that comes down to, we're open to figuring out a way forward, whether it's this today, in your business, or something will change in my business tomorrow. Change is inevitable.
Right.
And we all have to embrace it. And as we embrace it, we grow stronger for it. And that little education along the way breeds confidence, and success builds on success. So,
well, the other thing too is that, I think a big part of negotiation is having a cool head. And that's why you do surround yourself with the people that are not only knowledgeable, but that can behave on your behalf. So it's really important, like in my real estate world, purchasing a home is probably one of the largest purchases anyone will ever make in their lifetime. So it's highly emotional. It's very stressful for people. And when you get hot heads in an environment, you don't want to lose your dream home because you're mad because the seller won't replace a light bulb. So, those types of things. Which has
been a real negotiation.
I actually did almost light bulbs. Yes. So, with that in mind, you hire people to represent you so that you have the ability as the seller or the buyer to rely on that person to be able to negotiate on your behalf with cool minds, cool heads, and with the willingness to work things out. That if everybody kind of gives a little and everybody kind of gets a little, it all works out in the end.
Well, let's go to another negotiating story that we could share with you. Let's have audience participation on this one. Do you believe that Rob negotiates for the automobiles in the Schein household, or Jennica negotiates for automobiles in the Schein household? I'll take a minute.
We should ask who changes the oil too, takes care of the vehicles.
Yeah, I've never been blessed with being able to figure that one out. Okay, so getting back to the subject at hand, the answer to the story is Jennica does most negotiations at the auto dealerships. One, because she's, again, great at negotiating. And two, that's one of my least favorite places to be on planet Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it's to drop off our car for service.
You just did it this morning. You said to me, find out what the trade-in value is on this car. And I said, well, it's in for service. Why don't you just take the loaner, and when you go trade it out, you can do it later this afternoon ask the guy.
The answer is no.
Absolutely will not do it.
No, because so yes, we all have our pain points. We all have our friction. I personally dislike that environment.
Okay, so the funny story, I don't know what your funny story was, but I'll tell mine. You were in the market we had to get, I can't remember if you were leasing a car or whatnot, but anyway, you were done with that car and you had to go away on a business trip. And I think I had like at least 3 small babies.
Oh yeah. I was back in New York.
And I was taking you to the airport and I said, well, we need to like really figure this out. We need to know what we're going to do. And you said, you know what? Figure it out and pick me up at the airport on my new car when I come home. And I said, okie doke. So I spent a good portion of that week, late in the evenings, babies eating popsicles in the popcorn machine at the dealership. But we went around and we got probably one of the greatest deals I think I've ever seen on a vehicle.
That is that. And she actually did pick me up in the vehicle.
I did.
And she did all the negotiating herself. I was away on business. And I think that's one of the things that's truly special about you, in that I am truly just excited to see when I have the ability to, I know what your ability is in any capacity, right? So I knew that not only you could do this and take this on, you would exceed not only my expectations, but your own expectations. And I think what I wanted to prove to you as well is provide you that encouragement, saying, listen, I trust you. I know you do a better job than I would. And I know that you're going to constantly be on me on this weekend or next weekend. So I completely empower you to negotiate on my behalf, on our behalf, on the best interest of our family. And then if you really want this, then prove to me that you want this. And, I support you.
Yeah.
And knowing you, that's all you needed to hear. And you came back with rolling up with a smile on your face, picking me up from the airport.
Beep, beep, hi.
And that was pretty cool. So that was, that's what's special. Again, you're a lot like, my mom with regards to like, don't tell her she can't do anything. And you know what? Just get out of the way, because I'll show you how it can be done.
Well, the most important thing is I just went in there knowing the number I wanted to spend. And so, I think that's really the key is just, here's what it is.
You were pre-prepared with regards to financially speaking. You didn't just walk in there. In all fairness, since this, we have a great relationship for a great family that we buy all our cars for just about. And we've got some great, as a result of all the early on pain that I've experienced, we've got some great people that take great care of all of our needs for all of our cars.
Well, now we can just give them a call and say, this is what I'm looking for. This is the deal. and make it happen or not.
And now it's a personal relationship.
Yeah.
And so, so we've grown into that with trust and a lot of loyalty on both sides.
And it goes back to connections. Like you said, the people that you can call on, that's important. So
So now I don't mind it, but again, it's out of my wheelhouse. You're really good at it. Art of negotiation.
That's because they drive the car to you.
Yeah, they do.
You don't have to go to the dealership.
It's really good.
Except for your free popsicle.
They got rid of the popsicles. They got to bring that back.
Popcorn, maybe?
All right, Jennica, how do you want to end this?
Peace out. Just kidding. I have no idea.
That's great. All right. I'm actually trying to negotiate with you right now.
Oh.
You going to buy me lunch?
What do I get
You
out of
hungry?
it? I am hungry.
Date
yes.
night, here's the deal. I'm going to let you take care of the bill.
Okay, question. So now that our kids are out of the house, almost all of them, and
We can
Jack,
run around naked?
well, no, Jack doesn't want anything to do with us. You take me out to lunch since we work together. Does that mean you also have to take me out to dinner too?
That could be negotiated.
And that's how it's done.
Well, thank you again for joining us on this episode, The Art of Negotiation. For next time, the 7 keys of financial wellness is going to focus on planning, the importance of planning and what it could do to change your financial future and all the tips and tricks as it relates to that. And as we do in traditional style. So let's end with a quote as we normally do. And this is from JFK. And he basically famously said, "Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate." So with that, I leave you today. Thanks again. Like and subscribe, share with friends and family. And we really appreciate all of your time today. And we hope we've changed your financial future. Thanks again. We'll see you again next time.
This podcast is brought to you by David Field Producer. It is produced and directed by David Field and Kristen George. And it's mix, edit, and socials by Kristen George. Schein Wealth Management is a group of investment professionals registered with Hightower Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC, and with Hightower Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor with the SEC. Securities are offered through Hightower Securities, LLC. Advisory services are offered through Hightower Advisors, LLC. This is not an offer to buy or sell securities. No investment process is free of risk, and there is no guarantee that the investment process or the investment opportunities referenced herein will be profitable. Past performance is not indicative of current or future performance and is not a guarantee. The investment opportunities referenced herein may not be suitable for all investors. All data and information referenced herein are from sources believed to be reliable. Any opinions, news, research, analysis, prices, or other information contained in this research is provided as general market commentary. It does not constitute investment advice. Schein Wealth Management and Hightower shall not in any way be liable for claims and make no expressed or implied representations or warranties as to the accuracy or completeness of the data and other information, or for statements or errors contained in or omissions from the obtained data and information referenced herein. The data and information are provided as of the date referenced. Such data and information are subject to change without notice. This document was created for informational purposes only. The opinions expressed are solely those of Schein Wealth Management and do not represent those of Hightower Advisors, LLC, or any of its affiliates.